Hey, what's up, good people? How you doing? Welcome back to Stock Up with Larry Jones. First, take a minute to hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell, but only if you're new to the page and come join the family. Today, I'm calling this a crypto summit because we're going to be talking about all things crypto on this video, right? We're going to start with blockchain. We're going to move into crypto. We're going to talk about crypto in its presence and then where we think it's going in the future. So as you can see, I have a panel here, and we're going to start out with my friend, your friend, our friend, my financial friend, Sam. Sam, hey, welcome to the Stock Up with Larry Jones show. Introduce yourself and then go right into what is blockchain.
Sure. So thanks for having me on, Larry. As Larry said, I have the channel My Financial Friend. I've been running that full time for 2 years and been making videos for 3 or 4 years now. I've really shifted my focus to be mostly crypto over the last year and a half. And a lot of that is because I feel like there's so much potential in crypto. But as a lot of us know, it is kind of confusing, especially when you start getting used to the crypto industry and start trying to learn about it. So to understand blockchain, which is one of the main pieces of technology behind crypto, I think you really have to understand why people used crypto in the first place. And one of the main use cases for crypto was decentralization, being able to get away from third parties such as banks or governments. There are a variety of reasons for why people want to get away from banks. It could be because they're too slow, they're open 8 hours a day, maybe they just monitor your transactions a little bit too closely, or it's too expensive to send money, or the limits are too low for what you can send. So a lot of people either don't trust banks or just don't want to use them, but they are
or
useful.
don't have
They
access to them.
Exactly. Yeah, and they're still useful though. Even if you want to get away from a bank, they do a couple things really well. They can see what you have in your account. They can make sure that you actually have money available. They can record transactions and they can send it to other people. So if you want to get away from that, if you want to get away from banks, you still need some way to record transactions and secure the network from people that might want to cause harm to people on the network. So this is where blockchain comes in. It records transactions made so that there's some kind of record of it and distributes this to everyone that's on the network. Now, the people that do this, or the entities that do this, are miners or validators, and they're rewarded for doing so. So they're rewarded for making sure the network is secure. Now, what they do is basically they distribute this information so that everyone can have access to it, which makes it harder because it's not one central point of failure like maybe you would have at a bank, where if a hacker gets in, they can change one piece of information. So since everyone has it, it's secure in that way. And transactions are recorded on something called blocks, like basically digital ledgers, or if you want to think about something in the real world, it could be like a sheet of paper. Basically, they're just recorded on it. These blocks are then put together in order so that you can see everything that's happened in the past, and then it's just stacked on one another, which is why they call them blockchains, because they're chains of all these different blocks. So I think that probably is a good place to start if you're trying to understand what blockchain is. And you can get a lot more in depth. If you are a developer, you need to know a lot more than that. But that's what I think a lot of people should start with.
So I'm just going to play the devil's advocate so people can understand. My theory is talk to me like I'm three. So you're saying that blockchain is pretty much like a file cabinet, right? But a digitally, where all of the
Yes,
records are
yes.
kept.
Yeah, so everything's kept on it. So some people argue that crypto is some industry where a bunch of people are just using it for illicit reasons. They're trying to send money illegally or spend money for drugs and all different kinds of stuff. I won't get into that too much, but a good point against that is the fact that you can see everything that's been in that file cabinet. You can see everything that's happened on the network. So people that know crypto realize that it's probably not the best place to do illegal things. I mean, there was a Mt. Gox hacker that stole, I think it was billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and they were caught 5 years later. So it's a place where you can go see everything that's happened. There's record of it, so that way you can see what every single wallet had in their balance years ago if you need to, but it's just some way of providing more transparency to people and showing everything that's happening behind the scenes, in my opinion.
That's very good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to shift over to Judah. And Judah, what I want you to do is take it from where Sam left off, which is blockchain, and tie it into crypto. Introduce yourself and then go into what we just discussed.
Okay. Yeah, well, hello, everyone. Thank you, Uncle Larry, for having me on the show. My name is Judah. I have a channel called Crypto Lion. I'm new in the space, looking to get more, to put more out there. Blockchain and crypto obviously are go hand in hand. Blockchain is the basis or the building block for every mainstream crypto, and each of these cryptos can be thought of in probably two categories: cryptocurrency and crypto technology. But either way, no matter how you use it, you've got to have a base blockchain or building block to run it. We've got Bitcoin, which everyone's heard of, I'm sure, which is a kind of the gold of the cryptocurrency world. You've got Ethereum, which is a little bit more like the internet of the cryptocurrency world. And then there's numerous other cryptos that have other purposes and use cases. And each of these can be, and that's what makes investing in this space interesting.
Well, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. So, Josh, I'm going to bring you in right now, and I want you to take it from there as it pertains to where are we today with crypto, understanding what blockchain is, tying it to crypto. I think we need to spend a little more time on what is crypto for the ultimate beginner, and then we can get into something in more depth.
I'd love to do that.
Sure.
Larry, thank you for having me on the show. I remember about a year ago, I went to dinner with some friends of ours, Rich and Nancy Pierce,
yes,
and Phil and Vanderwall.
Yes.
And at the table, one of the things that was said, these gentlemen, very unfamiliar with the space, saying, so you're going to take real cash and I'm going to give it to you, and what am I going to get back? And it doesn't matter what I said.
Right.
They kept saying, but there's real cash. What am I getting? What am I putting in my hand, Joshua?
One was an accountant, though, right?
Yes, one is an accountant.
Yeah,
these are both very smart men.
Yes.
And so I did my best to sort of explain it to them, but I want to kind of include these two guys with this point. Jamie Dimon said just this last week, he was dissing on Bitcoin again.
Yep.
But right after these real hard disses on Bitcoin, he said, now blockchain technology, that's something altogether different. He said, we're using that. We're going to use it some more. And he said, we've been using it for 12 years.
I played that one on my
Did you play that one too?
Friday, actually, and I saw you played it today.
Yeah. So, the fact is that we do have two different things. We have a store of value, which is money. It's a currency. It's meant to be the basis. It's meant to have a value. Then we've got technology. And it's all designed to achieve a goal. It's got the smart contracts. I'd love to hear Sam's thoughts on this thing I'm about to say, which is that the future of smart contracts is going to be integration with AI.
Yes.
So it is technology, and it's advanced technology.
Yes.
That's one. And the other one is money. It's a store of value. Scarcity is involved, and so those are the two worlds, right? And so the reason why people have had such a hard time getting their head wrapped around exactly what it is because it is more than one thing. Mm-hmm. And every time we get a sense of what it is, it's just like expanding.
Right.
It's like, how could you describe the internet years ago? Mm-hmm. You could say, well, you're going to be able to buy all your goods there. You're going to be able to buy your toilet paper and your diapers like on Amazon.
Right.
Plus, you're going to be able to go here and research a paper like Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Right. It is definitely more than one thing.
And you'll be able to talk to an audience on a thing called YouTube.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the big question is, how do we make money on it? So,
right.
In a way, I'll tell you one of my underlining, I like to understand a technology.
Yes. Can I just, I want to stay right here because this is an area where a lot of people are confused, right? Let's start with Bitcoin.
Okay.
And then we can explain.
Okay.
So let's start with Bitcoin, which is like the Dow or the S&P to the stock market, right? how am I getting how am I profiting off of that? I understand if it was the stock market and I buy a share, I'm getting a piece of a company, and when that company goes up in value, we all get paid. So most people understand that. So now, for the 78-year-old farmer that doesn't know any of this, he wants to ask Josh, how do I make money from Bitcoin? So explain what Bitcoin is, a digital currency. Explain, you know, is it is it endless like printing money, or is it a finite amount? And explain how he makes money off of it.
Well, let's pull everybody into this conversation, but I'm going to throw out a few facts. There's a limited supply. I believe there's 22 million
everyone.
Bitcoin, but there is in actual circulation, I believe there's under 18 million. I don't know, Sam, you might correct me on that. And so there is a scarcity of it. There's a fixed supply. Now I'm going to play Jamie Dimon, the devil advocate. Jamie's like, well, how do we know that we don't get to the last Bitcoin that gets mined and we get a little pop-up that says, gotcha. So Bitcoin is a mystery. We don't know who created it. There had been many people researching the idea of having a one world currency. And so I'm just going to make this point. Any currency is only as strong as the government behind it, right? And the government is made up of its rules and laws and its fairness, right? If a bunch of the populace come to the US because they say to themselves, we feel like these laws are fair, we can live under them, then there is an attraction and a value to becoming a US citizen, okay? Mm-hmm. But if there was another country that came along and their laws were more appealing and more fair, then people would gravitate to there. So there is a strong association with currency and government. And Bitcoin is an attempt at government in that it has fixed rules and laws that govern how it will operate, but also it is basically it's also attempting to be a currency.
Right.
Go ahead.
So how does it go up in value?
Well, I'll say this, and this is where I would love for Sam to chime in after me, but I'll say this. It is a speculative asset. It is actually the fastest growing asset in history as far as value. It has outpaced every single company, every single commodity, outpaced gold. It is the fastest growing asset in history. No other asset has skyrocketed the way that Bitcoin has. So it is an issue of supply and demand. Once people agree upon it as a currency, right? Once that's established, the store of value, then it is there's a scarcity involved. And just like the US dollar, we see that people were going after the US dollar and it was driving it up, right?
Right.
Okay. So in the same way, there's a scarcity to Bitcoin. The more and more countries that adapt it, even though there's 22.
Is it closer to gold or is it closer to fiat currency?
Sam, go ahead. I'm gonna let you chime in.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to some of the last points if that's okay, because I hold Bitcoin. It's actually my largest position of anything besides real estate, any singular asset that's liquid. I think you have to realize that first of all, it's kind of confusing to understand Bitcoin at first because we're brought up and we understand what money is, right? You get money, it's kind of backed by the government. You can spend it different places, but most people don't understand how money actually works. They don't understand the ins and outs of it. You know, who creates it, who decides when to print more, where does it all go? So we just kind of assume that we understand it because we know how to spend it. So understanding Bitcoin is a little bit different. People have a hard time wrapping their head around it. But basically what gives it value is like everything else in the world. It's supply and it's demand. Now, the supply is fixed at 21 million. It's going to be unlocked. The last one's going to be unlocked in over 100 years from now. Jamie Dimon says, you know, you don't know if at the end of it, someone's going to say, gotcha. I was thinking about it today. What if what if every single coder that's ever looked at it sees that there's some explanation that they should just continue to keep the Ponzi alive so that way people keep on putting money in it until you know they pump their bags and then you can sell out. The engineers could, but then I thought no, that could never happen because there's always someone that's going to tell you what's happening in the code. like CoffeeZilla, right? He likes to explore what's happening behind the scenes. And while it might not be good for him in the short term, he could probably make money in other ways too if he like jumped on some of these Ponzi schemes that he's actually illuminating to everyone that they're Ponzi's. He could make money doing it the dirty way. The fact is that someone would blow the whistle if there was something wrong with the code. I can't read code, but it is open source, so coders can look at it and see everything, how it's built. So that is the supply side, right? There's a set supply. It comes from miners. New miners get Bitcoin for validating transactions, but the demand side comes from a variety of different ways. I think of Bitcoin in two different ways. Why would people have it? One, it's an investment, or two, it's a hedge against currencies devaluing over time. So you can buy it because you think governments are going to collapse and you want something, some way to store your wealth, which sounds crazy, but I mean, Ukraine fell and there are people that had nothing but their crypto when they're leaving the country. Or you could buy it because you think it's going to go up in value. And there are a variety of reasons for that too. Maybe people think that's just a riskier asset that's going to be used over time because of devaluation of other currencies, or because, hey, you can send it across the world in a couple seconds or less than a second on the Lightning Network, and it's much faster. I mean, I use crypto probably every day or every other day now, while I used to only buy it. Now I actually use it, and it's much faster, and I don't have to ask my bank to do anything. I can just sit on my couch and send $10,000 in crypto if I want in a split second. I don't have to ask anyone's permission for it.
Sam,
Yeah.
how do you use your crypto every day? I mean, without divulging everything, purchasing.
Sure. So right now I purchase mostly services for it. I don't purchase that many goods with it. There are different ways of purchasing goods with it, different cards and stuff like that. But a lot of the stuff with my business, I purchase in crypto. Or if I need someone to do something for me, like I might pay someone a fee for finding a new sponsor for me or something in crypto. So there are a variety of ways of doing that, even just between friends. Like I have friends that are on crypto YouTube, and we pay each other in crypto just because it's faster and easier, and we all have a balance, rather than trying to set up a Zelle payment or PayPal or Venmo, and then they take larger fees. We pay each other through crypto all the time for Airbnbs and hotel stays and stuff like that.
Well, that's interesting. I ask these questions because these are the questions that people that don't understand crypto simply want to know. It's what I get asked the most. And so I have to play devil's advocate. I wish they'd find another name for that. But anyway, I have to play the advocate and ask these questions because people that don't know. And you must admit, for someone that is not into technology, this could all be overwhelming, right?
Yes.
They're like, look, I got $1 in my pocket. I want to spend it, but what's with all of this? So explain to people, is there an exchange rate from country to country, or is it just an even playing field?
So Bitcoin is always denominated in different ways. You could denominate Bitcoin by Ethereum. You could look at how much Bitcoin costs compared to Ethereum. You could look at Bitcoin versus the US dollar. You can look at Bitcoin versus the yuan. They're all different kinds of currencies. So it all depends on the currency that you're valuing it in. We most of the time talk about it in US dollars, like it's at 23,000 US dollars right now. So if the US dollar goes up in value and Bitcoin stays constant, then Bitcoin versus the US dollar would go down in a way. If some other currency is devaluing faster, then Bitcoin might hold up better in US dollars, or it might go up more, in relation to that other currency. So it's all in relation of one asset to another, because the US dollar is an asset
with
in a way.
the Venezuelan dollar, just last year or 2 years ago, when their currency was plummeting, many people looked to Bitcoin as a hedge and safety net for their savings. You know, it became easier to pay people in Bitcoin than it did in the Venezuelan dollar, because you'd have to pay someone 1 trillion Venezuelan dollars for a Big Mac.
Good point. And so actually crypto wound up being kind of a savior in situations like that, because their currency, their fiat currency, became none and void pretty much. So Josh, I want you to take us from where we are today, I just wanted to give a basic of what blockchain is and what cryptocurrency is. I want you to explain what are altcoins in how it ties into Bitcoin.
Okay, well, Bitcoin came on the scene, and it was a revolutionary idea and technology, and it was an attempt at creating a one world currency. But as people began to examine it, review what it was accomplishing, look at the technology, and they began to get their heads around it, you have people like Vitalik Buterin, who joined with some other men and came up with Ethereum, which wasn't meant to be a currency. It was meant, as Judah said earlier, to be like an internet, but more specifically to accomplish something on a blockchain using smart contracts. And of course, after that, there were other coins like Litecoin, and other people could mention some coins that were attempting to be a better Bitcoin.
Right.
Okay. But what really evolved from each bull run to bull to bear cycle, as each cycle went, other basically advancements in the concept came forward, and so we went from having store of value to we went to sort of the internet, with the Ethereum.
Yeah.
Then we've come up later on with these efforts to scale or minimize the costs or to improve Ethereum to be a better Ethereum with companies like ADA and Solana and other layer ones. And so the cryptos and of course, then we got the meme coins, which was like Doge and SHIB. And those were just this odd popularity contest.
Yes.
They didn't, they weren't necessarily like Doge was, I believe, based on Litecoin, which was based on Bitcoin. Right. It wasn't really designed to outcompete them, but it was those guys came along and there was this concept of being able to out-promote it.
In their college dorm.
Yeah. And, they all got out of it, early on, didn't realize the power of what they were doing, but other people came along and took those vehicles and ran with them. There is a place for each of these types of cryptos in the space. And then you get these different sectors. Similar to the stock market, we'll have a different like oil, energy, pharmaceutical, they have all different sectors. Well, Bitcoin and crypto has essentially a similar idea. Judah, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Just on the spread of what is available in the cryptocurrency market?
Correct. The different types of projects.
Sure. And then you talk about that, Judah, and then we're going to move to something a little more advanced because I want to talk about where crypto is, and I want to talk about the 4 phases of crypto when you finish.
Okay. Yeah. Cryptocurrency is something that is something that will eventually replace many of the things that we take for granted in our day-to-day lives. Right now, there are ways that people catalog supply chains. So, you can determine where a banana is on its route from the farm to you. And these systems are often complex, large, and specialized for every single company. But, Bitcoin and crypto technology as a whole promises something that can be not only decentralized, as in not run and owned by a single entity, but vast enough to be a supply chain for everything. The applicability of crypto technology and blockchain, even in JP Morgan's video the other day, is shown that this technology is going to be used vastly, and the space is only going to get vaster with time.
There you go. All right, Josh. I'm sorry.
Let's explore the cycles.
Let's look at some cycles. Now, there's 4 cycles. I just want you to talk about the 4 cycles because I don't know if it's going to pull up good on this computer. So we're going to talk about, We're going to talk about the 4 phases. They're called phases. I call them cycles. But there are 4 phases of crypto, and I'm going to bring it up here, and let's see if we could get it up on the screen. Let's see. There we go.
So
go ahead. You go
well,
ahead.
Yeah. So I just want to start off by saying that what Larry's got up on the screen is definitely the 4 cycles of the rise and fall of any asset. Okay, whether we're talking oil, crypto, or stocks, or real estate, they essentially go through these cycles of of increasing in value and decreasing in value. And the same is true for Bitcoin and altcoins. But there is essentially the industry or the technology has revolved around the halving event of Bitcoin, which has been running in a 4-year cycle. Mm-hmm. And so back at the end of 2021, Bitcoin peaked up at about 60, I think we'll call it 64 and then later 69,000, right? And then from that point forward, it went into a decline phase. A lot of people call that the winter, mm-hmm. right? Now, there is not an exact time frame for this, right? But most of them revolved around just under 400 or just over 400 days of a straight decline or a drop. That's when everybody lost their money. Okay, right. So that was called, otherwise known as 2022. All of crypto and Bitcoin was in the decline. It continued in the decline. There was a lot of folks that didn't want to believe that it was in decline, mm-hmm. right? And so they fought it.
And their cash got declined.
And their cash got declined. Now, that normally lasts around 400 days. And when we got to the end of December, we were knocking right on the door of 400 days. Mm-hmm. Now, there was one cycle that was around 411 days. And so it's not a fixed time frame. But we knew that when we entered into January, that the absolute lion's share of the decline phase was behind us. So then the question is, what is ahead of us? Well, that is going to be the halving event. The halving event for Bitcoin is one of the milestones that typically precedes the run-up. Right now, we're in what's called, not in the decline phase, we're in what's called the accumulation phase.
Here we go, right here.
That's stage one. And if you look at that picture, you see that it is mostly flat, but it is essentially building momentum. It means that the lowest lows were behind us in the decline phase. Mm-hmm. And so what we're looking at here is that the halving event is March 2024, okay? Mm-hmm. But Bitcoin has traditionally began to have the lowest low behind it 1 year before the halving event.
Yes.
Okay? So for some people, they believe that the absolute bottom and the complete end of the decline would be right up before February, March of that 1 year date, looking out to March 2024. So, we may have the bottom behind us right now. Mm-hmm. We know that we are at the tail end of the decline phase if we are not out of it.
Yes.
Now, from about the end of February to the end of February, or to February in 2024,
yes,
that's going to be an accumulation phase, which largely could be sideways, but slightly moving up.
That's the accumulation phase.
Yep. Now, from the March of 2024, mm-hmm. right, for about a year, so running to the end of March or the end of 2024, or some period in December, we should ideally, and I'd love after this to get both Judah and Sam's thoughts, but we should see some semblance of a peak at the end of 2024 or the first or second or third month of 2025. But it's in that zone. That's the markup stage. And then...
So I saw crypto run up. I missed it, didn't I?
Well, we have no, because we have a pretty decent flat accumulation year. Now, you might have missed the bottom. Mm-hmm. But you ought to have a pretty good amount of time to buy it before the markup phase.
Hey, Sam, ballpark, do you know from the accumulation to the markup, do you know typically how much crypto runs up? Let's say...
And the markup's the very peak, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, from the accumulation to the markup.
So can I clarify that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So to the end of accumulation before the beginning of markup.
There you go.
And I have an answer.
Okay, Josh has
so
an
I'm
answer.
not...
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not sure from the end of accumulation. I know from the bottom of last bear market, like right around COVID, Bitcoin was around 3,500 to 4,000 at the bottom and ran up to 68,000. So a 15x. The thought process though is as time goes on, since the market cap gets bigger, And since more money has to flow in, the returns do get smaller over time, at least on Bitcoin, because it is larger every single cycle. So right. If we did a 15x from the bottom last time, a lot of people think it might be closer to maybe a 10x. Maybe it's less than that, but that would still bring us up to 150,000. And while a lot of people try to time the exact bottom and the exact top of the cycle, it's really hard to do, which is why I talk about on my channel dollar cost averaging. I've been dollar cost averaging for the last year because I know I'm never going to hit the bottom, because the bottom is where the most people are bearish because they think it's going to fall. I'm waiting with my cash on the sideline the whole time. I'm going to be scaredest at the bottom. I'm going to think, even if it moves up $1,000, I better hold off, because what if we fall right back down? So that's why I dollar cost average, so I don't have to worry about that. And then also that the top always changes as well, because every single cycle, it's a different peak. And right when people are the most excited because they think that it's just about to go parabolic, that's typically where we do see people start taking profits, because those are the people that aren't being so greedy. They've already had a 10x maybe, and they start to take money off the table, and that caused us to start falling down before everyone thinks. And like right when everyone's piling in, all retail investors are piling in. Typically we see Bitcoin move up and then money flows out of Bitcoin into some altcoins. That doesn't always happen, but that's called altcoin season. A lot of the time that changes in how much we move up. It depends on the cryptocurrency. It depends on the usage. It depends on how much money's piling in and how liquid the currency is. But how much people can trade on it before it starts moving up or down a lot, because some just don't have that many people trading. So they're what's called illiquid. So a lot of the altcoins run up faster or higher than Bitcoin. So you might be thinking, why not invest everything into the altcoins? Well, because some of the altcoins don't do anything. If you look at the previous cycles, they're cryptos that you've never heard of. They were some of the, but they've done nothing because a lot of people
Say that again. I'm sorry, I froze a little bit. Say it again so people can understand.
Yeah. So I was just saying that some people might ask why they shouldn't invest in altcoins if they go up higher than Bitcoin. And the fact is, Bitcoin has been around and been the largest cryptocurrency for the longest time. A lot of the other altcoins that were very popular in 2013 or 2017, you might not have even heard of now. So while some of them run up much higher and you'll see 100x's or 200x's, the fact is you have to pick out the right cryptos that are going to do that. And most of them won't move up that much. So a lot of people put their money into something like Bitcoin or Ethereum, even if they don't think they're going to move as much as some of the smaller cryptos, because they would rather take I don't want to say guaranteed 5x, but a much likelier 5x than they would just go bet everything on some small altcoin like Dogecoin or Shiba years ago when no one had heard of it, because a lot of those do go to zero. They don't actually perform as well as Dogecoin or Shiba. Those are the ones that are 1 out of 20,000 cryptocurrencies that have gone up from a joke to being worth billions of dollars.
Yeah. So Josh,
and I think what's similar, if I might add here, crypto is not very dissimilar to stocks and forex in the fact that you can invest in a known and big stock like Apple and expect a certain smaller return, and you can invest in a smaller speculative asset or stock rather that no one's heard of that has a higher potential return. But as many of you probably know, that smaller unheard of stock is also much more risky. And that same thing is applicable for crypto. The more known, the more established, the bigger it is, the less chance of a high return there is, but the more guarantee for that return. Whereas a small speculative asset has the chance of huge returns, but that chance is really tiny.
Yeah, that's really good. Really good, Judah. Josh, where are we today with crypto? And then we're going to discuss where do we see it headed.
Okay, well, I want to go back and talk about the accumulation and markup phase. You had asked, at the end of accumulation, before markup, where might the price be? I'm going to give a price prediction.
Here we go, people.
Okay. So we're going to say that on March of 2024, I believe that Bitcoin should be, if it's conducted itself in a similar fashion to past cycles, it should be between 48 and 69,000. Because
Hold on.
go ahead now.
Hold on. This is what we gonna do. Sam, what do you
Yes.
got to say about that?
So let me clarify the question for Sam. So Sam, this is the question. Before Bitcoin has a markup stage, by the end of the accumulation stage, where do you see the highest price or the range for Bitcoin?
And are we saying the end of the accumulation phase is around March 2024, you said?
Correct.
There are a lot of people that are betting on this. I think Plan B just gave his prediction of $32,000 plus. I'd say mine is similar. If I had to put a dollar amount on it, I'd say 45,000, because I think people will try to front run it. They realize that the Bitcoin halving is coming up. They realize that people are going to start piling money into Bitcoin. So they're going to start buying it ahead of time to try to get in early before the pump happens. A lot of it, though, is going to depend on what the Fed does, because crypto is great, but it's not in a bubble. So people move money between real estate, stocks, crypto, and depending on what the best risk to reward ratio is, they might take it out of crypto and put it somewhere else, which is what we've seen over the last year. A lot of people moving into safer investments or to companies that cash flow more, or to treasuries. So a lot of it is going to be dependent on that. But based on what I know now, I'd say probably $45,000 would make sense to me.
Well, him and I are not far off.
And what was yours again?
48.
Oh, you guys are right there.
Yeah. Now, there is the possibility of it going as high as 64,000 for this reason. In the previous cycle that we just had, when we got to the end of the accumulation phase, we were dealing with 20,000 and 20,000.
Right.
So the peak of the previous run was around 20. We came right back to that before falling back to 16 and ultimately making that big pump up to 64. So I'm simply presenting the fact that if by the end of this accumulation, there's some reasonability to the idea that we could get near the peak of the previous cycle. But having said that, I lean towards believing 48K because there was massive support at one time at 40K, 48K, and now there's massive resistance.
And to be clear, when?
I'm going to say that it's going to be around the date of the halving event. Okay, so that's going to be March 2024, and it should be around that date. As Sam had said, people are going to be kind of wanting to front load the run, right? And what happened in the last cycle, Larry, is that when it got to the halving event, it had run up, but as soon as it peaked, it then fell back quite a bit. So similarly, we could run up to 48 and come back to 32 before we go into the markup phase from that point forward.
And that's exactly what it did before.
Yes,
I was in.
Yes.
Yeah. So when, point to the people that don't know, when, here, you just use this.
Okay.
When, so talk with that.
Well, I'm going to say this. So this kind of represents near the end of the accumulation phase. And I'm suggesting that at bare minimum, I would like to see Bitcoin, if it's going to perform in similar fashion to previous cycles, I'd like to see this be 48,000. And then it wouldn't shock me if it pulled back to 32,000 right before the ultimate markup phase. Now, this is where I might differ a little bit from something Sam said earlier. I actually have a very conservative view on the price of Bitcoin. I have a higher view as to where it might run up before the markup, but a more conservative view as to where it'll hit.
Okay.
And mine is based on it's based on a mixture of charting and aspects of what Jamie Dimon said.
Yes.
I'll have to reveal to you that I secretly believe. So here's my issue. Okay, I'm going to throw, this is actually going really controversial. I haven't laid this out on my own page.
Go ahead.
I have not laid it out. So I am, for the first time before this last week, I would have called myself a somewhat Bitcoin maximalist. Someone who ultimately believed that the best coin and the best crypto out there was Bitcoin.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to give you two reasons.
Josh is speaking for him. He
That's
believed
right.
that.
That's right.
Not
That's right.
me. Go ahead.
And I'm going to give you two reasons why that idea got beat down inside my mind this week. Okay. One, in this recent run-up, whales have been selling. Man, and I'd be curious what Sam thinks about that. But you know who's buying this Bitcoin right now?
Who?
Retail.
Yeah.
And so whales for Bitcoin to really remain, laser sharp focused in my mind as a premium asset.
Right.
I want to see the wealthiest people in the world own it.
Yes.
So now I'm not saying that I am not holding on to my Bitcoin, but what I am saying is this:
Mm-hmm.
the biggest impact that these news events have had on my mind is the question of how far Bitcoin will run up.
Right.
Now, I'm going to throw out a fib number. Go ahead.
And I have a question.
Yeah.
Are they selling their Bitcoin and moving into other coins?
Well,
so what are the whales buying as far as crypto? Is it mainly Bitcoin, or are they moving into the altcoins?
I'll answer that. And
are
again,
they moving into Ethereum?
Yeah, I'd love to get Sam's view. Let me just kind of flesh out this whole thought.
Sure.
So where I know that the whales have been buying is coins with interoperability and banking coins. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I can't say that for a fact. I don't have a chart to show, but I've read some reports about those being purchased by whales. Right. Now, my current thought is that Bitcoin is absolutely going to continue to have. There's going to be a relationship of Bitcoin dominance to all coins. Correct. But this is a prediction I haven't given yet. I do believe that the next run-up, Bitcoin could potentially have a muted top. I believe that we might only hit 80 to 90K, which would not make sense per the past run-ups. And it's because if the whales don't decide to latch onto it, if the Jamie Dimons of the world don't decide to latch onto it.
It's a Ponzi scheme. That's what Jamie Dimon said.
So that's my concern. They're the ones who are ultimately going to decide what rises and falls.
Yep.
And I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm just trying to participate in the run-up. What are your thoughts, Sam and Judah?
Sam, what do you think?
So I think I threw out a number earlier when I was describing the next Bitcoin halving or the next cycles.
Like we say in the hood, or used to say in the hood, stick to your guns, be a man. Don't let Josh punk you, man.
Yeah,
say what you believe.
So I was just saying that the next cycle Bitcoin will go up less than the last cycle, most likely. And I threw out 150,000 from the bottom, going up 10x. If I had to put a number on it, though, I'd say my guess is somewhere closer to 100 to 120. I think by then, a lot of people will already be calling for Bitcoin to go up to 150, 200 based on charts, and then we'll sell off before that ever happens. But if I had to guess, that's where I would put it. But I think there are a lot of things going on in the macro economy right now, and a lot of retail investors have come in later to Bitcoin than some of the big investors. So they're still trying to gobble up as much Bitcoin as they can. They've seen this as an opportunity when Bitcoin's price has been low to dollar cost average. Well, a lot of other investors might just say, hey, I want to take some risk off the table. Maybe I have a ton of money in Bitcoin, but I don't know if we're going to go through recession. I don't know how that's going to affect crypto. And they're willing to take a little bit off the table and reinvest in other places.
That's reasonable. That's reasonable.
Judah, what you
say?
I think that it's hard to take seriously predictions made just after the proverbial winter bear mauled everyone. It's
that's pretty good.
It's interesting to see predictions that people make at different times in the cycle. We're talking a lot about this cycle right now, and many of us tend to be guilty of getting excited in the bear or in the bull and depressed in the bear market. That being said, I don't disagree with anyone's statements here, but I think that oftentimes the big money will claim, boo on Bitcoin, I hate it, while they're lining their bags with it. The thing is that they know when to line their bags. I think that a great time to revisit these predictions is going to be right at that halving stage. See how everyone's sentiments are and gauge the market then.
Very fair.
Very fair. Well, listen.
Does everyone want to give their predictions for that halving cycle? Because two of you haven't.
All right, you
Let's see.
go ahead, Sam.
Oh, I already said I think max is around 45,000 before we get to March of 2024, sorry. That's my max, and then my peak 120, I'll say, for the next cycle.
For the top of the markup.
Yes.
Yep. Josh, you are really close.
I'm really at 48K as what I'm going to be looking for. If I didn't get 48K, I would have some questions and concerns. And wherever the max or peak of Bitcoin runs up to, I will actually agree that so much adoption could occur that we could go to 120 or 220. But I am going to be significantly considering selling and taking my profits, like Sam mentioned, the early sellers.
Yep.
I'm an early buyer, and I'll be a early distributor between 80 and 90.
Yeah. So here's some of the things that I'm going to say, and then I'm going to leave a room for closing remarks from all of you gentlemen. Here's some things that is not in a chart and really not in fundamentals. This is just the way I do my psychology trading with stocks, and I just look at where things are going. The SEC is going to have to do something.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought that up.
All right. So the SEC, for those of you that don't know, they're supposed to be regulating stuff like this. And they're
supposed to be protecting
us, right? So stuff like FTX doesn't happen, right? But he was silent and complicit through all of this. And he says, $10 billion are missing? Let me go after Kim Kardashian.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look at XRP. But $10 billion
Lotto.
missing? What's that?
Bits Lotto. They had to make an announcement about shutting down some exchange.
Don't forget Bits Lotto.
Yes, exactly.
How many people in the audience have heard of Bits Lotto?
Right. Well, let me look at Sam. He bought a whole Bitcoin. So let me go. But here's 10 billion over here. So here's what I believe is going to happen. People are actually going to, we loved it because it was decentralized, but to what degree, right? It's going to get pulled on the rug. They are going to get control of stablecoin. They're going to regulate stablecoin. This is just Larry, my belief. And they're going to say, hey, fine, you can have your crypto, but we got to regulate stablecoin because it's pegged supposedly dollar to dollar. So they have to regulate it. And then they're going to say, you got to be able to cover. You're not going to be getting, stake this and stake your Bitcoin and we'll give you 25%. That's not going to happen anymore because all of that is going to get regulated. I believe the initial response to that is going to be negative from the retail investor. But then I believe because of that regulation, it allows more institutions to get in because a lot of institutions by law and rules and regulations could not invest in the crypto. But once it has some regulation by the SEC, now you're going to see huge money come into crypto.
Yeah.
And then,
sovereign funds,
Exactly. And then the retail investors, even some of the ones that says, I don't want to do anything because y'all got it. I don't want anything to do in it. Now they're going to chase back in now. And that is going to pump it up. And I believe that my number for Bitcoin is probably higher than you guys because this time I believe that huge money will pump in. So just think of the stock market, right? All of the stock that is traded in the stock market, 82% is institutional money. So all of our retail trading is like scratching the surface compared to institution money. So we have to look at that.
Despite the institution money, Larry, sometimes these companies use naked short selling, and they just write down numbers and create more shares or something.
Absolutely, multiply. They don't die, they multiply. They like their naked shorts are like Bebe's kids. They don't die, they multiply. Right. So,
Yeah.
Josh, you have your. I'm gonna leave you with
Okay.
the last close. Oh,
All right,
you
go
want
ahead.
I'm gonna leave you last.
Well, I want to pop into 3 cryptos and just throw out some thoughts.
Let's go
Maybe
right
that
there
will
right now.
influence these guys' final
Yep,
thoughts.
let's go there right now.
Okay, can you throw my chart? Okay, very good. Right now, this is Bitcoin, and I'm just going to say that I think that we are possibly moving. We broke over on the S&P 500 over the big wall that has been a barrier to us all of 2022. We had great volume today. We closed with a nice green tall bar, and so things have turned bullish. They may continue to go bullish until the Fed comes out with his next interest rate hike. If we remain in this bullish environment leading us into the end of January, Bitcoin is not slowing down. This is classic parabolic charts here. This is great sideways consolidation. It's still going up. For this to be a move that would be settled down, it would have back test. You guys, Larry, you see that red line here?
Yep.
Okay. If this were going to be a level by level move, it would have back test that.
Move your cursor.
Yeah,
so
right
people,
here.
Yeah, so people can see it. There we go.
It would have back test that. It didn't. It just consolidated. Then it shot up. All right. So what I'm simply saying is this. If I look at this chart, Bitcoin is moving in a parabolic way, not in a back testing mode. It's had sideways consolidation, run up, sideways consolidation. It's poised for another run up and a potential hit for 24.25. Okay. And I'm just going to quickly point out Ethereum. Very, very similar. Ethereum is consolidated at this level of previous resistance. It also has moved sideways, and it looks as if it wants to run up to around 1800. And I'm going to throw out a quick prediction for Solana. And I'm not saying that you guys should load up because it's going here. I am saying that from a technical standpoint and from a charting perspective, this is not showing me signs of cooling off. If you look at Solana, it looks very much like it wants to hit $30. So it wants to, so that I just want to point out that if we remain, Larry, in that bullish environment till the end of this year, there is absolute room for these to have one more pump up, and that's where I see them going.
Okay, and when you say one more pump up, is it going to stay up? Or you're saying one more pump up and then come down?
Yeah, I believe that we're going to get one more violent pump up, and I think that we're likely going to, if we consolidated there briefly, that may happen, but more than likely, I'm a candle guy, and so I'm going to be looking for a candle with a really tall wick and rejection, price rejection. So I will probably know then where Bitcoin will go, but I think it's going to wick up, fall down, like we saw Verb today, kind of had that big fall, and then it's likely got to go back and test 20K, Ethereum, 1,200, Solana. It's hard to say, but I'm going to say around $20.
Okay. All right. Very good. That was good. Thank you. Judah, parting words.
Parting words. Well, I think that when in doubt, zoom out, as Uncle Larry says. Accumulation is the name of the game. Keep heart. It's the lessons that are learned in the bear market that make a strong investor. So that's why everyone's here, and hopefully we all come out on top on the other side of this.
Love that. The lessons that are learned in the bear market. Love that. My friend, my financial friend.
Yeah. So for me, I think this is very similar to maybe going to the gym. Sometimes just to be successful, you just have to go there and try to put in work. Just like you're watching this video, you're putting in the work, trying to learn throughout the bear market. A lot of the time, you just have to wait long enough for something to happen, whether it's, you're working out and seems like you're not getting anywhere, but eventually, as time goes on, you get somewhere, you accumulate enough crypto that it makes it worth it, or you learn something new. And I think we're just in that phase where everything's really exciting right now, but if we go a month back, no one really cared about crypto. So you want to temper your own emotions. As I said earlier, I think Bitcoin's probably going to go up to $120,000, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be waiting to the very last second to sell. You want to take some emotion out of it, be smart. I don't know where the top is going to be, so I'll be taking profits along the way as well. And I I feel like we could talk about this for hours, honestly, but if you like this kind of video, give Larry some love underneath the video, because we're shooting this at almost 9 p.m. on a Monday night, and he could have easily just made a video, probably gotten more likes and more views on an actual video, but he wanted to bring us on to get some other viewpoints as well. So he's putting in the work to make sure that all his viewers are getting the best content possible. So thanks, Larry, for having us on.
Appreciate that. And where can they contact you at? Where are you? I know you're on YouTube, but tell them the name of your page.
Yeah, My Financial Friend is the page. Maybe, Larry, you could put our pages underneath the video or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, would love to do this again, too, because we have so much to talk about, too.
We will do this again, and I will definitely be leaving a link for all of these gentlemen's pages in the bio below. Thank you so much, My Financial Friend, and we're going to end with... we'll let Josh has his last words. Judah did.
Oh, did he? Okay.
I had a chance,
no. I thank you. First of all,
what? I'm sorry. Let me tell. See, I had to cut you off. I know I'm gonna get it. You cut Josh off again, man. They protect you, bro. Judah, let them know where you can be contacted, where they can find you.
Well, I'm just beginning, but if anyone wants to tune in for the future, I'm on YouTube and TikTok as Crypto Lion, and hopefully we're gonna go on this ride together.
Yep. So Judah just launched. He just launched, and I got a surprise for you about who Judah is, and I'm gonna let Josh tell you that.
This fine young man is my son. Judah Lion is the young man that runs my companies in California and in the Midwest. He is extremely competent in the things that he does, and he is a very smart guy with crypto. And when I get into a place that's kind of hairy and difficult, I call this guy up and we brainstorm and we make money together.
Very good. And how about your parting words?
Well, first of all, thank you, Larry. I enjoyed myself. I agree with Sam that it would be cool to do another crypto summit. We just scratched the surface. Thank you for bringing us on and putting focus on this, on our pages and this subject. My final words are, this will cool off. I did tell you guys that this is going to pump potentially till the end of January, but we are in a terrible macro environment. We have some pretty significant problems. We didn't even mention the Ethereum hard fork that's coming up that's going to flood the market with $20 billion worth of Ethereum for sale. There are problems ahead, with Genesis and Gemini. And so as soon as the hype wears off and we hit that peak, everyone's going to latch onto those bear stories. And when they do, don't forget the message tonight that you've heard from all four of us is accumulation, dollar cost average over the next year. Doesn't matter whether it's a bull moment or a bear moment. In the coming 2 years, it'll produce a payday.
I agree. Hey, listen, this has been great. Listen, in crypto, it's simple. We're in the accumulation stage or phase. And what should you do? Just accumulate. And I know many of you know that I have a slightly different approach, but at the end of the day, it's going to be accumulating, right? And so when the next pullback happens, I've been dollar cost averaging into an account, but when the next pullback happens, I'm getting in. What you should be doing, what's the best thing to do, not to time the market, is to simply accumulate and just do that. And don't have FOMO, because a FOMO, fear of missing out, will cause you to buy at the top, even with the slight run up like Josh was talking about. And then when it bottoms down, believe it or not, on the Wyckoff chart, it shows where people, the first little run up, and we're not even to the markup stage yet. We're still in accumulation stage. People will buy it at the top because they see it's running. And then when it falls, they sell out and take a loss. So be prepared to accumulate for a while and don't have FOMO. Hey, I want to thank all of these gentlemen. I will leave their links, prospective links below. Judah, welcome to YouTube. He's just starting out, good people.
Thank
So
you.
I'm going to leave his link below. My financial friend, we've spoken together where I've spoke, and we see each other at conferences. And so I'll leave all of their respective links below. Speaking of links, I have two links, but the top of this link will be Webull. Webull is actually where I do my crypto swing trading, not accumulation, but swing trading in Webull. And for those of you that are new to crypto, this I tried to bring you guys from what it is to where it is. And so that's why I had to play the devil's advocate and ask a lot of questions. If this has been helpful to you or you would like to see something like this again, please leave me a comment and make sure you download the top link below, Webull. Thank you, gentlemen. We will see you later. Live, love, laugh, learn, and earn. Peace.